So a bit of background before we go into the talk at Glastonbury. Feelings are running high in Glastonbury. For some time now, Glastonbury Town Council have invited World Heritage United Kingdom to Glastonbury to do scoping studies, as they call it, to find out the possibilities of Glastonbury becoming a World Heritage status site with UNESCO and getting international recognition. I've got friends in Glastonbury, and the feelings are running quite high there with regards to this subject. So with my background and knowledge of law and governance, I thought the people of Glastonbury and the residents should understand how they're being governed so that they can hold their councils to account should they wish to do so. So that's the aim of this talk today. It had a slant towards the Glastonbury people and residents, but of course it applies across the board. Hope you enjoy it.
Of people talking about law. Thank you very much. I thought if I was talking, people might listen, but obviously not. Fantastic. And I don't blame them, but never mind. So Clive came on my show about a year ago, and after a long line of many people who've been talking about law and governance and sovereignty and all those sort of words that we've come to start using that we perhaps a few years ago never really thought of, because we knew who was the boss and we bowed down and we did anything they said. Now we're thinking a little bit twice about all of that. And Clive was really, for me, the missing link. Not because he was oiling the extra arms. His thought process and what he's going to share with you resonated in a way that none of the others had, although that was good grounding for where I think Julia and I are, especially now that we've taken on a piece of land and that we know that we will be having a few knocks on the gate. But anyway, I'd like to hand you over to the one and only Clive Edwards, ladies and gentlemen.
I would just like to clarify that I'm not missing in evolutionary terms. Right, I think it's probably, I mentioned this in the talk, but I thought given the last powerful talk by Victoria, I would just point out, and hopefully my talk will give some context to what Victoria was speaking about. And it might give a bit of a better understanding as to why some of the things happen that do happen. And on that note, the legal system is secular. And secular means, and I quote by definition, belonging to the state, exclusion of a belief in God from matters of ethics and morality. So that's your secular legal system. Let that simmer while we go through the... Right, nice to meet you all. Nice to be back on home turf, back in Somerset. Okay, right. When I come to these things, I've got that much information and it's kind of evidence I like to impart, because I like to give people something to get their teeth into when they go away from talks like this. And something that they can hopefully, go and evidence later. A lot of what I talk about is quite heavy going. I make no apologies for that, but that's why I have to I spend days writing these talks out, so that hopefully it gives some framework and context. And like I say, I provide a webpage for all my talks, so this one's no different. My website is capillarywave.com. If you go there, /Glastonbury, and you will see this webpage that this contains this evidence. Right. As I was saying, I know there's a lot going on in Glastonbury in a minute, and I've been in contact with a few people in this room with regards to some of the political things that are going on in Glastonbury. And I'm going to touch on that today, and I hope that my talk will give you the ammunition that you need to shoot these faceless corporate bodies down. That's why I'm looking forward to this talk, because I know there's a room full of people here that are keen to get involved and are enthusiastic about taking on the secular system. To me, that's what I'm about. But I hope, thank you, and I hope to be able to give you some of the ammunition you're going to need to shoot these guys down. So, I've also provided a webpage called Glastonbury Information. And I based that from a lot of the media stuff that's out there about World Heritage status, and the video I took at the town hall there where I saw Sandy and a few of you guys there at I think it was last week. So that's going to be up there as well. I'm collating, and someone's handed me some minutes of a meeting that I think, well, I won't mention any names because but I've been handed some minutes of a meeting that were up on site very quickly and then they come down. But I've got hold of them and they're going to be on this webpage, so you can all take your time and have a look at it and see what we didn't want you to see. So, right, with all that being said, should we get on with it? So some of you may be familiar with my work and some of you may not, but what I like to do at these events is bring the evidence which supports the main talking points where possible. Evidence is not only important for presentations, if you want to be taken seriously, but for those that are involved in legal discussions and arguments, evidence is all that matters. And you're going to need evidence if you're going to take on the council, WHS, UNESCO, you're going to need evidence. So on that note, you can follow along this talk here by going along to capillary.com/Glastonbury, where there will be photos and links that support this talk. For those that have not seen me before, what I talk about is not commonly known, yet it is fundamental. It's fundamental principles of law and governance. The information that I will share today will hopefully explain to you why you are treated the way that you are with regards to the law, and especially by your local council. We'll get into that because some of you may or may not be aware, but I built a farm or a small holding without planning permission. And I told them I was going to do it as well. And I used some of this information that I'm going to impart today. I used the law to defend my position against the council. That's how you win, when you take their rules and fire it back into them. The information I will share today will hopefully explain to you why you are treated the way that you are with regards to the law, especially by your local council. Understanding what I will explain here today will stand you in a better position for your interactions with the state, which brings me on nicely to the subject of United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organisation, or UNESCO. Now I know that here in the acronym UNESCO, or the words World Heritage United Kingdom, will get a few of you here reaching for your pitchforks and protest. But hang on a minute, what if I told you there was a much better way to deal with these government and corporate bodies? A position that you can be in at law, whereby they have to take notice of you, whereby you are in the ascendancy, and I can prove it. We will get into that specifically, and I will explain this here today, but before we do, here's a bit about myself. My place is a stone's throw from here, and when I was a teenager, and going into my early 20s, Glastonbury to me meant Pilton Pop Festival in the summer, and Heroes nightclub, just around the corner. Well, the local Glastonbury lads welcomed us Wells boys with open arms. Yeah, that bit's not quite accurate, but... I even had a spell playing for Glastonbury Town Football Club in my youth. As my understanding of law and governance has flourished in more recent years, Glastonbury has come to mean so much more to me. Glastonbury, for me, and no doubt countless others, could be the most important place in the British Isles for those that follow the teachings of Christ Jesus and the birthplace, as it is the birthplace of the Way, or Christianity in Europe. Glastonbury has many ties. Glastonbury has many ties to Christ Jesus, which I hope to write about soon. My talk here today is titled Government, God, Glastonbury, Myth and Legend. Now, being a local lad, I am fully aware that when mentioning the words Glastonbury, Myth and Legend, the world of woo-woo is not far behind. So let's not get confused. I don't deal in woo-woo. I deal in law and governance. So what exactly then is myth and legend, and why is it important? Well, it's important to those who wish to bring World Heritage status to Glastonbury. Well, myth and legend is important to those who want to bring World Heritage status to Glastonbury. In a recent town council meeting at the town hall, Paul Simons, who is chair of the World Heritage United Kingdom, said in his introductions that the intangible attributes of Glastonbury are the myths and legends that could work towards getting a World Heritage inscription on the international list. Clearly then, myths and legends are very important indeed to those acting in the interests of UNESCO, but what does it actually mean? Myth means speech, thought, discourse, conversation, anything derived by word of mouth. That's what the word myth means. Legend means narrative dealing with a happening or an event, literally things to be read. So myths and legend are the spoken words, discourse, conversation, and the written words of an event, a happening. So today I will be entirely focused on myth and legend by definition, and although there will be no woo-woo, there may be the odd dragon. Ooh, exciting. So, before we get into all of that, we know that there is a battle for control looming over Glastonbury. A battle for its physical, mythical, and legendary attributes, as stated by the chair of the World Heritage, United Kingdom, Paul Simons. I am aware that a large portion of this audience here are willing to defend Glastonbury from a perceived corporate takeover. And because you are willing to take on the agents that act for these corporate entities, I have two very important questions for you to consider. Because your success against these actors depends on your answers. Number one, are you in the best position, legally speaking, to be able to do battle and win? Number two, have you been hamstrung by your opponents before the battle has even begun? We'll get to the bottom of that. Together we will examine the evidence today and arrive at a conclusion to those questions. So, Keep the microphone down. So this title is The Principles of the Art of War. I have titled this chapter, The Principles of the Art of War. Some wisdom is timeless, and I would suggest that understanding these principles of battle will serve you well. Because believe it or not, they are extremely relevant to your battle against World Heritage United Kingdom, as I hope will become apparent. I have selected 3 relevant principles for my talk today from Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, and they are: every battle is won before it is fought. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. All warfare is based upon deception. You may be thinking, how on earth does this apply to me, Glastonbury, and UNESCO? We will apply Sun Tzu's timeless war principles to the battle for the control of Glastonbury. But first I will need some help in answering a few basic questions about World Heritage status issue. Know your enemy, part 1. So help me understand the situation here at Glastonbury currently with this application for World Heritage status. Would you say that as residents of Glastonbury that your problem is with UNESCO, World Heritage United Kingdom, Glastonbury Town Council and Somerset Council? Would that be about right? All of the above, yeah. And as someone that doesn't know the intricacies of the application for World Heritage status, is this being pushed at United Kingdom government level as well, or is it just local level?
Yeah, state level.
State level as well, United Kingdom.
No, it started off as local, but when you look at what has been happening with the town deal and all of the last since then,
yeah, thank you. So this next title is Know Thyself. How many residents here belong to the 3 Glastonbury wards that would be affected by the World Heritage status? Those wards being St John's, St Mary, and St Edmunds. Have we got residents here? Yeah, the residents in this room who are from those wards. I live here. Know thyself. I told you, Sun Tzu's Art of War, didn't I? The battlefield and the heart of law and governance. So this is the battlefield. Okay, so with your help, I've gotten a better understanding of the dynamics of this particular issue. And now it's time to take a closer look at how those dynamics at Glastonbury for the council taxpaying residents here fits in. Oh, I didn't ask you actually. How many residents here are concerned that their council taxes go towards funding World Heritage United Kingdom consultations.
We're not residents.
We're not paying council tax.
Is it right rebellious lot down here? What is it? We'll get you building farms in a minute. Okay, so with your help, I've got a better understanding of the dynamics of this particular issue. Now it's time to take a closer look at how those dynamics at Glastonbury for the town council tax-paying residents here fit in with the wider system of law and governance. Based upon what you've told me here today, let's examine your chances of success against the powers that be as they stand. At law and on earth, there are only two systems of law that you can exist under, and they are the legal system. Let me scoop down to this. So, at law, you can only exist under the legal system of man or the lawful system under God and the teachings of the Bible. There's nowhere else for you to go, guys. Man's legal system and God's lawful system. That's it. There's no other system of law that you can live under, and no man can be a law unto himself. So you will be either under one or the other. You cannot be under them both. It doesn't work like that. No man can serve two masters. Those two systems are visually described in my table on the webpage associated with this talk for those following along online, and they can be seen via the banners each side of me. So, what the legal system do, as these banners represent, described on here, the legal system mimic the perfect system of the Bible. So, on the United Kingdom, if you go to Wikipedia and find out what the United Kingdom is, the United Kingdom is listed as a body politic. So it's a fiction of law, but we'll get on to that. So,
as opposed to Great Britain, which is a landmass.
yeah, that's right. So we've got a body politic over here, and we've got the body of Christ over here. And the United Kingdom is run entirely on political policies, police and politicians. So all those words come from the word politic, because that's what the United Kingdom is, a body politic. So on this side you've got the House of Commons, and on this side you've got the House of God. On this side, believe it or not, King Charles, one of his titles is Father of the Nation. And obviously over here we've got Our Father who art in heaven. Now on this side, those of you who might consider yourself Christians know that the Christ Church is known as Mother Church. So the Church of England on this side is also called Mother Church. So Father of the Nations, King Charles, and the Mother is Church of England. That is why all residents and council taxpayers are what is known as infants, wards of the state. And on this side, you're children of God. The legal system just copies and mimics the lawful system. They take away Christ over there and put man in its place. That is why the definition of secular is belonging to the state. You're infants of the state. This is relevant to some of the things, if you think in that context of what Victoria was talking about. It's powerful, and understanding some of these things can put you in a better position to tackle these government bodies and UNESCO, etc. And that is why secular means it's the exclusion of a belief in God. God's on this side, not that side. And lacking in matters of ethics and morality. Well, we've just heard of some very striking examples of that, haven't we? And we can see it every day in our lives on the news. I mean, you don't even need to tell you. Government, by definition, are immoral. By definition. So, and I evidenced this when I found this out. You can these two systems are evidenced right throughout state, from King Charles right down to your local councils. So the king, he wears two crowns of office. One crown is a St. Edward's crown, and that's the crown of God. So he puts this crown on to show that it relates to this jurisdiction over here. And the other crown he's got is called the Imperial Crown, and Imperial means Roman. And countries, like the United Kingdom, are governed by Roman civil law. That's why one of his crowns is a Roman crown. This goes then down to judges. Some of you may be put before judges. These judges swear 2 oaths of office. They have 2 oaths of office for the same reason the king has 2 crowns. One oath is to a jurisdiction here, under God, and the other oath is to his office of state, to rule over his citizens. That then goes back to your police officers, right? So a police officer is also a police constable. The police officer, the clues in the title, that's to do with the office of the United Kingdom. The constable swears an oath to God to protect the people. We'll get on to people and citizens in a minute. And your local council, this is reflected in your own local council documents, and I'll get onto that very, very shortly and evidence this, because it's really important to you guys in this room if you want to win the fight against UNESCO. So this is how the paradigm of law and governance works. These are the two jurisdictions. That's it. You're over in that camp or that camp. There's nowhere else for you to go. And the sooner you learn and understand that, the quicker you can get yourself into a higher position at law and start to defeat some of these government bodies who exist over here. These guys in this system say that this system is the highest authority on the law. Everyone over there, they all swear oaths, and they've got an act of parliament called the Confession of Faith Ratification Act, where in that act it states that the Bible is the infallible truth. And infallible means exempt from error in judgment, knowledge, or opinion. So these guys say that this is infallible. There is no other paradigm to exist under in terms of law and governance, de facto, meaning that this paradigm of these both systems does not rely upon your belief or understanding of it to be in place and operational. It cares not about your beliefs. This is it. There's no other system of law on earth. It is perfection. This is the very same paradigm that I used to protect myself from the state, from local council, when I started building my smallholding without their permission. But what I did is quite a serious affront to government policy. That is a big two fingers up to local government and beyond, because that takes me right out of their jurisdiction. If they can't stop me building a house, it means I'm out of all their taxes. Like, that's freedom. What I talk about is freedom. I talk about freedom from this lot, this immoral, lacking in ethics lot. I talk about complete freedom from government. I don't do half measures, because you can't. You're in one camp or the other. So, I understood how it worked, and I understood the hierarchy within it, which I will go on to explain further. This is the system which is in operation in all Christendom throughout the Commonwealth countries and beyond. This is the paradigm that governs your life. But how do I know? I know because I've lived experience of it, and of course, therefore, I can prove it. And I can prove that this paradigm controls everyone, that controls you. To prove the two systems of control, we need look no further than the key officers of state, which evidence this twin paradigm, starting with the king. I've explained that the king wears two crowns of office, and judges have two oaths, etc. This goes all the way down through the state to your local councils, who tell us in their own constitutions that they are accountable to people, but govern the electorate, the council taxpayers. And you do not have to take my word for it. I will show you the evidence of this from two different councils' constitutions. One of them being Mendip District Council. So, you're either a people under God. Now, at law, I'm talking about at law, there's only two positions you can ever be in. Every one of you in here are either one or the other of these things. One is a people under God, or the other is a resident of the state, or a state citizen. That's it. At law, you are either one or the other, and they couldn't be further apart in terms of law and governance. One's the lowest you could possibly be at law, and the other's the highest, which we'll evidence now in Mendip District Council's constitution, which is on the... I've highlighted it there. It's on my website as well if you want to go and look at it later, but I'll read out some interesting points from it. And these are the things. When I had 9 planning enforcement notices, okay? And that means if you don't pay, that carries a potential prison sentence, all right? So I had to learn this fairly quickly to avoid prison, because I didn't really fancy that. So I started looking at Mendip District Council's enforcement policies, and eventually I found this document called a Constitution. And don't get me wrong, I didn't do this in 5 minutes. It took me a few years. I was devouring information and starting to understand the Bible's got a connection with law and governance. So I'd find words in the Bible, and I thought, what's this Bible doing talking about persons? Because over here they have jurisdiction over persons. They don't have jurisdiction over people over here. And I knew that because I researched a lot of contract law. And I thought, what's this book, the Bible, doing talking about persons? That's my area of expertise. I know who has jurisdiction over persons. what is this book doing talking about my jurisdiction? I thought it was like some hairy guy walking around and healing people, but I was vastly mistaken. So, Mendip District Council's constitution states to find ways of effectively and regularly communicating with the electorate and the people of Mendip. If there's no distinction, you don't need the word and in there. They're either people or electorate, that's it. But it doesn't say that. So in the next point it says to explore ways of being accountable to the electorate and the people of Mendip. So I found that interesting. And under the heading main responsibilities and duties of a councillor to Mendip District Council, it states at point D, to represent the community and bring the views of the electorate and the people of Mendip into the council's decision-making process. So it's there again. These distinctions are there throughout their constitution. Balancing individual interests identified within the ward and the ward as a whole. There's the ward, this is the ward as a whole. This is going to be important for you guys with your UNESCO battles. Because I noticed in that meeting, they were interested in talking about community. And I was sat there thinking, yeah, the community and the community as a whole. I'm one of the people. They were there talking to their residents. In fact, they were talking at their residents. Because I can assure you, if you're one of their residents, they're going to win. But I'll get on to Gravesend in a minute. It's not just, it's nationwide. This is the system. I'm just evidence. What I'm pointing at here basically is these systems are evidence. Now, without the knowledge of the Bible.
I was just wondering about Somerset.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. It'll be in there. You'll have to look forensically. I tell members of my website, you've got to trawl through these documents forensically. Without the knowledge of this, of the biblical system, it'll be very hard to understand the difference between people and the electorate. So I will now read out a section from Gravesend Borough Council Constitution, which will be evidence on the webpage associated with this talk. So let me just put that down and get a drink in a minute. This is a good one. So, at 5.2 it states, listen carefully, allow local people to have a real and informed say about the issues that affect them. At point 3 it states, explain to the council taxpayers the reasons for particular policies and priorities. Well, if you're explaining something, it means the decision's been made. So, you guys, the electorate, this is what happened. This is what we've decided. Ever so sorry. Over here, how can I help you guys? You've got a real informed say about what happens. And this is going to really what matters to you guys, whether you're going to be successful or not in the battles that you've got ahead. Because they explain what their decisions to the electorate, but they talk to the people over here, and I can assure you, there's not many people left at Britain. And I've got a website advertising for people, and I haven't met many, which is a sad state of affairs. So the poor electors and council taxpayers get things explained to them. They're there, because they're infants, aren't they? They're infants of the state, wards of the state. This is what mummy and daddy have decided. Get on with it. Oh, you're paying for it as well, by the way. Let's have your pocket money. That sounds awfully like the decisions that were made when they weren't important enough to be involved in the decision-making process. Compare that to how the people are mentioned in the same section of the same constitution. This is only one sentence below. Here, the people were, how can we help you guys? Over there, you lot. Yeah, jog on. The entire system of law and governance hangs on these two separate jurisdictions. It means so much, I had some banners made. Thank you. Yeah, the entire system of law and governance hangs in these two jurisdictions. You're in one or the other. And that is man's legal system under the Crown and God's lawful system under Christ. And that's why Glastonbury is important. Again, I'm going to write an article on that. So, one system under two very different fathers belonging to two very different houses. You're either in the House of Commons or the House of God. They just copy the system. And two very different families. But the legal system recognises the biblical system as the highest authority on the law, as seen here at various ceremonies of state. It hasn't come through on my computer, but there's a picture of Charlie Boy here at his coronation. If anyone's studied the monarch's coronation, it's just biblical. It's biblical all the way through. And at Parliament, Houses of Parliament, every day they have a prayer session. And judges, every year mark the start of a legal year. That's not commonly known. But every year, the judges mark the start of the legal year at Westminster Abbey. And on my website, I've got the hymn sheet. They go to a church and sing hymns to God. So this lot that govern residents and council taxpayers, every year go and worship this lot. So I aligned myself with this over here and told this lot where they could go. The evidence of this hierarchy of law and governance is all around us. I've mentioned the Confession of Faith Ratification Act 1560, where it states that the Bible was the infallible truth, meaning exempting error from judgment, knowledge or opinion. I've already mentioned that judges, MPs swear an oath, and police constables swear an oath, and the Queen's coronation. So you cannot understand how law and governance work or the system that controls you if you do not accept and understand the teachings of the Bible. Without the knowledge of the Bible, it's unlikely that you will understand the importance of being people as opposed to the electorate, a commoner of the state. You can only be a people if you are under God. The difference at law between people and the electorate is vast. One position, the people, is the highest authority, and the other, the electorate, council taxpayers, is the lowest possible position at law, and their own document spells that out very clearly. I could not have done what I did, building my own farm without permission and being successful, if I was one of the council tax-paying electorate. That just will not be allowed to happen. The legal system recognises God as the highest authority, without question, infallibly. Your state adversaries admit at their ceremonies, their acts of parliament and oaths that God and the Bible are supreme. Now that we have seen the two systems side by side, the paradigm, let's take a closer look at your position within the hierarchy. So this is just a description I knocked up, or my wife did actually. God's at the top, and the legal guys admit that, and it's the Bible, if you like, that's the people are under the teachings and commands of the Bible. Then we've got the Crown, Monarch, Parliament, Acts and Statutes, Government, and right at the bottom is the electorate, commoners. I couldn't find anything lower than that. And if you're a commoner, even corporations like the World Heritage Gang, they're above you. So that's a visual description of the hierarchy of law and governance. So this title is, has the battle already been lost? Have we been hamstrung? Your position in this war. So let me, I'll leave that there so you can see that. So your position in this battle. That's why I mentioned Sun Tzu. We have seen that you can only ever be in one of two positions at law. That's it. There is only two jurisdictions. In the eyes of the law, you either belong to the state or God. In the eyes of the law, King Charles is your father, and therefore gets to make the rules, King Charles gets to make the rules, or it's our Father who art in heaven makes the rules. You're either a people belonging to God, or you're a citizen resident of the state. With this information in mind, let's examine the likelihood of success as it stands right now of keeping Glastonbury out of the controlling hands of the World Heritage United Kingdom. So at the start, I asked you a few questions, and I referred to the principles explained in Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War. Let's see how those principles are played out here. I asked you, are you in the best position, legally speaking, to be able to battle and win? Have you been hamstrung by your opponents before you even get going? And that's why I showed you this at the start. Somerset Council, Glastonbury Town Council, awfully keen for you to go make a vote, aren't they? In your various wards. Whatever the council's offering you, trust me, you don't want it. I asked how many people have voted for a particular candidate. I think we skipped that actually, but have you got any candidates that are anti the WHS, or is it all, they all pretty much for it? Right, and she probably got loads of votes. We'll get them.
She's getting for travellers as well, so they can...
Right, okay. So, I asked if council taxpayers are concerned that their taxes are going towards paying for the scoping studies by agents acting for World Heritage United Kingdom. Let's now examine the answers to those questions to see what position that you currently find yourselves in law. Are you in the best position, legally speaking? If you are in a legal position, that's part of the deal, that's part of the trap. If you're in a legal position in the first place, you're in the wrong place. You do not want to be in illegal. I built my farm illegally. It's illegal, and that's fine by me, because remember, they lack a belief in God, they're immoral by definition, and lack ethics. That's fine by me. I don't mind, I'll do things lawfully, but I don't care about legal. I do not care. So if you're in a position to fight these people legally speaking, you're in the sewer, arguing about, yeah, you know what you're arguing about if you're in the sewer. So, have you been hamstrung by your opponents before you got going? This is important. If you're involved in any of this, voting in the wards or paying council tax, just explain to you from what a council's own constitution, what it thinks, what they say about their own council taxpayers. So, that's a question to seriously consider. Have you been hamstrung before you even got going? Yeah. That's why they're so confident. That's why they'll win. Unless you guys, I say it in general terms, but change tact. You need to become one of the people over here is one of the people here is in a stronger position than 1,000 of them over there, 1 million. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Let's go back to the.
Yeah, but most people are paying council tax because they have to.
Yeah, I'm just. We'll get on to questions later, but I'm just explaining how the law is. They don't care about beliefs. So. So I'm one of the people, and what I did was very powerful. Amend it. Said no, Clive, we don't want to take the call. I wrote letters to them when I started understanding some of these two jurisdictions. I wrote Mendip District Council a letter telling them I was going to build a house and asking them if they had any objections, do write to me and let me know. They never did. And later on, when I obviously as my confidence and knowledge grew, I wrote them more letters asking them to take me to court because they kept sending me enforcement letters. And I had a meeting. They got in an expert in planning law to tackle me, to prosecute me. So I had a meeting with this guy. And anyway, I won't bore you with the details, but in that meeting, I said to him, look, Mendip's got their view on the law. I've got mine. Let's take it before a judge. And he said, Clive, we do not want to take you to court. So, have you voted for a particular candidate? Right, so back to the questions. Have you voted for a particular candidate? A vote is a vow. The words vote and vow are synonymous, almost interchangeable. And a vow is a solemn promise and a pledge to a deity. When you vote to these people, you're making them your gods. They just mimic this system. Being a voter means that you are now what the council refers to in their constitution documents as the electorate. If you have made a solemn vow to your new King Charles, it also means that you broke the very first of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And small g gods in the Bible means kings, earthly rulers, and judges. Number 4, are council taxpayers concerned whether council tax monies are being spent? That is none of the taxpayers' concern. Run along, children. They are the lowest rank in society. Pay up and shut up. The council will explain their decision to you, remember? Remember Gravesend Borough's council constitution? Run along, we'll tell you what we've decided. On the webpage for this discussion, you will see 2 definitions for this. This will also explain a lot as well. Anyone familiar with local governance will understand you vote for people in a ward and a district. This will bring things into sharp focus. Understanding these 2 word definitions will further evidence much of what I have spoken about so far. Of course, for those familiar with councils and local elections, these 2 words, district and ward, will be very familiar. So this is the definition of the word district. It is the territory under the jurisdiction of a lord or officer, okay, that's on this side. A restraining of offenders' jurisdiction. Well, you broke the first commandment. If you're over here, you've broken the first commandment. So it is a restraining of offenders' jurisdiction. It's an area of jurisdiction, a district within which the Lord may take and withhold personal property, distrain, for legal reasons. They can take and withhold personal property for legal reasons. And if anyone's seen the interview I did on my YouTube channel with that elderly farming couple from down near Egham, they took their farm. Now I understand why they did it, because I understand the definition of district. So let's move on to war. And I've explained the two systems that you see before you, and Ward will just add fuel to that fire. So ward means to control and rule. It's the meaning of a minor under the control of a guardian. So again, the words will always tell you. It's a division of the people under a particular leader or guardian. So the people have been divided. Now you're under a leader or guardian. So the deception, man's secular system, godless, unethical, immoral, fictions and lies. The legal system copies and mimics the perfect lawful system. The legal system of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth is run under civil law. Civil law is Roman law. Civil law, by definition, means secularly organised. Secular means, and I quote, belonging to the state, exclusion of belief in God for matters of ethics and morality. If you are a citizen, then by definition, you belong to the state. We know the government are immoral and lack ethics, and we can see this with our own eyes in the world today. Government is immoral by definition and stands in direct opposition to Christ. It's contrary, anti. Man's secular legal system is in opposition to Christ. It is the other paradigm. And now we have seen the two systems side by side, we can see why. It is lacking in a belief in God. It is immoral because it has replaced Christ, at the hell, with man. I've got an article on this for those that want to explore this a bit further called Dear Christian Countrymen. If you search it online alongside my name, you should find it. A country is contrary to the lawful jurisdiction of God. And the definition of country means contrary. And now you can understand why. It is secular and it is a graven image, a legal fiction, existing only in your minds. And that is why the Bible states this at Ezekiel 20:32. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries. There's a family over there. To serve wood and stone. And wood and stone in the Bible is idols. They're idols. There are two basic points about law and governance that you must understand to comprehend the legal system and how you are controlled. One, what is a legal fiction? So yeah, these 2 points you really must get to grips with if you're going to be successful in your battles. One is what is a legal fiction, two is what is a country. Both are creations of men, and it's no accident that men also makes up part of the many word definitions for the mind. Mental, mensa. Yeah. Government, exactly. Government, govern the mind. You've governed a lot of minds, haven't they? Especially during the COVID pandemic. So what is a legal fiction? We all know that a work of fiction is not true. If something is not true, it is a falsehood, a fabrication, a lie. The words legal and fiction are closely linked because the legal world is a world of legal fictions, a world of lies by their own admittance. The opposite of a fiction is a truth, a maxim. A maxim is defined as a self-evident truth. Here are some legal maxims which explain that legal fictions are lies. This is what the legal laws say about legal fictions. A fiction is a rule of law that assumes something which is or may be false as true. It has to be, it's just made up. There's nothing real, there's nothing tangible on this side. All the real stuff's here. Which is why there's a picture of Britain here, the British Isles. On that side, they have to give you a flag, and a flag is an ensign. And a sign is something that brings something to your mind. That's what the definition of sign means. They can't show you what the United Kingdom is because it doesn't exist. And actually, I brought in 4 tickets for anyone who'd like to come and claim a family holiday, all inclusive to Yugoslavia. Who would like to come and collect them? Yeah, Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist at law or in the minds of many people because countries are legal fictions. So where truth is, fiction of law does not exist. There is no fiction without law. Fictions arise from the law and not law from fictions. There is another legal maxim worth pointing out here, and that is, let he who would be deceived be deceived. That's the legal boys telling you, if you're too dumb to work this out, we've got you. It's tough. Clearly then, even the legal profession You just you go for a parking ticket. You'll benefit. You'll benefit from this. I'll tell you how to get out of that in a minute, mate. Clearly, then, even the legal profession admits that the legal fictions are lies, which should pose some interesting questions in your mind. Something that is a legal fiction cannot show up at court to defend itself or prosecute a claim. Anything that requires a representative to act for it or to appear as it at court is a legal fiction. This is an extremely important fact to consider, especially when one considers that all court summonses are an invitation to appear. World Heritage United Kingdom is a good example of a legal fiction. It is not real and cannot turn up at court. World Heritage United Kingdom cannot take the witness box or give a witness statement. World Heritage United Kingdom cannot do these things because World Heritage United Kingdom is a company, is a fiction of the law, a body corporate. It does not exist in reality, which is why World Heritage United Kingdom will need a representative to speak for it, to act for it at court. What is the country United Kingdom? Logic and the law. A plus B has to equal C. At law, the country United Kingdom is what is known as a body politic. Like I said, go to Wikipedia, it will show you this. You don't need a law dictionary. At Wikipedia, it will show you that, a flag and some heraldry, because it cannot show you what United Kingdom is. A body politic is a political construct, a legal fiction. This is why it is represented at Wikipedia by a flag, a drawing of some heraldry, and an anthem. It can't show you what United Kingdom is, any more than I can give you tickets to go to Yugoslavia. I told you that a legal fiction needs to be represented by other things because it does not exist, it isn't real. There is nothing to show you for the United Kingdom, so it shows you other things which conjure an image in your mind as to what the United Kingdom is, which links us nicely to the definition of fiction, which is invented in the mind. So a fiction is invented in the mind, as is a graven image. In biblical terms, they call it a graven image. Over here, it's called a legal fiction. Same thing. God does not like graven images. A flag is used to represent the United Kingdom, and the definition of flag means a cloth ensign, which means a symbol, especially when meant to express thought or convey an idea. Because the United Kingdom is a body politic, your own local council, which exists at law in the United Kingdom, will also have to be a body politic, and it is, as evidenced at Section 2 of the Local Government Act 1972. Just bear with me a sec. So, yeah, the Local Government Act 1972 says Mendip District Council is a body corporate. This is also why your local police station is a company and listed on a business search directory done in Bryce Street, because they too are a fiction of the law, a company. And I've evidence here, Wiltshire Police. You can click on at my website, you can click on the links and I evidence everything I'm talking about here. And this is why every person that appears at court for a summary and indictable offences, so there's only summary and indictable offences, and so everyone that appears at court for a summary or indictable offence is seen as a body corporate, as stated in Section 2 of the Interpretation Act 1889. Again, law and governance has to be logical. It has to be A plus B equals C, and to me that makes logical sense. Because if the country United Kingdom is a legal fiction, then it makes sense to me logically that everything in it and associated with it would also have to be legal fictions too. And it is, as the evidence proves. If you think about it, nothing that is real can exist in a fiction. That just does not work. That's not logical. The legal system works on fictions. The United Kingdom is the big fiction, and the police, councils, NHS, World Heritage, United Kingdom, and other government bodies are the smaller legal fictions that work within the larger United Kingdom legal fiction. A country is a legal political construct existing only in the mind of the citizen. It doesn't exist in reality. The legal system is made up of fictions, made up of lies, which is why it is secular. Secular means the exclusion of belief in God from matters of ethics and morality. That definition makes sense when we understand that man's legal system is based on lies. A people cannot live in a legal fiction of the United Kingdom. That does not make logical sense. But a people do exist on Britain. Britain is the landmass, the reality which God created. And the United Kingdom is the title of a legal fiction. That's all it is. That's why the Crown has jurisdiction over titles. Your V5, your mortgage title. Titles. That's it. United Kingdom is only a title, which is why the Crown only has jurisdiction over titles. You have a title for everything that you own, in quotes, because you own nothing. The King does. People created by God exist. So I'll just take you back to the district council now. Now they were telling me about some buildings in the United Kingdom. Well, I'm not mental. My buildings are on Britain. Now that sounds funny, but it's true. And I won. This is a battle for your mind. It is a battle for your mind. At law, a resident and the electorate are legal fictions and live in the United Kingdom. That is why when you are summoned to a court for any and all summary and indictable offences, they say that you're a body corporate. You have to be. You can't have. That's why they won't take me to court. I'm not a body corporate. They will not take me to court. People cannot live in a fiction of a country. That's impossible. That does not make sense. People exist on Britain, which is an island. This is why you can no longer go on holiday to Yugoslavia, because Yugoslavia no longer exists at law, nor in the minds of many people. Understanding the difference between a country and a landmass was crucial information for me in my fight back against the council, and it also enabled me to help many farmers and smallholders at court against their councils. I went for a few years, I went around the country helping farmers and smallholders in planning issues over against their local councils. That's why the word country means contrary, opposite. It's anti-Christ. So, there is no doubt that a country is a legal construct, a body politic, a legal fiction. We can see on the webpage here what the word fiction means. Invented in the mind, a fabrication, artificial, deception, and the Bible describes fictions as graven images. So that's what the word fiction means. So, again, I just tackle things logically. A question of logic. The council taxpayers' political and legal conundrum. A stark matter of fact from the evidence of the two systems of law and governance displayed on stage here and online is this. Number one, you cannot find freedom by using a political method of the body politic United Kingdom. You ain't going to get freedom if you're anything to do with that. You've got to be over here. And that's just a fact. You cannot gain freedom by using the legal system. If you're involved in any political struggle or any legal means whatsoever, you're in the sewer. You made a pledge to the boss. You're his children. You're one of the electorate. You've heard what they said about the electorate. So there is no legal solution. I'm talking about freedom. I'm not talking about minor things. You can get legal wins, of course you can, if the state want you to. Minor things, yeah, you might get a little wins here and there. They might throw you a bone. But I'm talking about freedom, and if you want freedom, you ain't going to get it over there. So Albert Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. You can't solve a legal problem, a legal political problem, with legal political means. Or put yet another way, you can't solve a secular problem built on lies with yet more lies. To solve a secular, political and legal problem, you can only use the lawful system under God, and that's what I did. If you are a state citizen, then you are what is known as one of the electorate, a commoner, a citizen belonging to the House of Commons as a subject of an earthly king, a third-class citizen, the lowest position at law that you can be. The highest position at law you can be is one of the people under God. Clearly then, there are two systems of law, but they are not equal. We have evidence to hierarchy. So, what is Britain? Part one. Britain is the name of a landmass, of an island. The land at Britain is what God created, not the Crown. The Crown created the title of the United Kingdom because that's all it is, a title. It's just a word on a piece of paper. Just like your V5s, it's a title, just a piece of paper. People exist on Britain, and the electorate, the UK residents, which are legal fictions at law created by the state, live in the United Kingdom. They can't have anything real living over there. The electorate are the lowest position in society, and the people under God are the highest position that you can be in at law, as I will go on to explain. Truth, oh, here we go. Is your man back with a parking ticket? Yeah, got it, look. Can a parking ticket remedy improve the system? Truth beats lies. Practical application, you might be thinking this is all well and good, Clive, but how does this work practically? So I use this on parking tickets. Practical applications of this knowledge, beating the civil allegations with the truth. Bearing in mind, civil is all lies. That's important. Once we understand what legal fiction is, then we can understand what a country is, and therefore we can understand what the United Kingdom is in terms of law and governance, fictions. Knowing this information is vital. I cannot emphasise enough how important it is that you begin to understand the difference between the United Kingdom and Britain. One is real, Britain, the other is a fiction, United Kingdom, existing only in your mind, which is why it cannot be evidenced, even at Wikipedia. It is the same with the landmass at America, with the USA being the body corporate there. I explain this further in my article, The Framework of Law and Governance. Believe it or not, knowing this information can help you avoid parking tickets. Do you know why parking fines and speeding tickets are only allegations? Even though we're often pictured behind the wheel of our car on their notice. Allegations means without proof. Allegations means without proof, because how can there be proof that you parked your car on a postal address in the United Kingdom when the United Kingdom is a legal fiction and exists only in your mind and at law? Go and check your parking fines and you will see that they claim you parked your car on a UK postal address, postcode and all. This is why belief and conviction mean the same things. When you believe, if you believe that you parked a car at a UK postal address, they've got you. That's when a belief comes a conviction. These are not accidents. The car parking company representatives need your belief, your conviction that you did the alleged activity at a postal address in the United Kingdom, which is impossible, unless of course you are convinced, convicted and believe it to be true. Do you believe a lie? Those of you who have paid your parking fines were convinced and then convicted upon your own beliefs that you parked your car on a postal address in the United Kingdom. We've got a nurse in, so if anyone's feeling a bit like... Ask the car parking companies if they charge people for parking their cars on an email address too. Just giggles. This is a mental game, and some of you may need to re-watch this presentation for that to sink in. The minute that you believe their allegation, you are convicted of a false belief. You believe the lie. A remedy for parking tickets, here he is. You're going to have to re-watch this one. A remedy for parking tickets is to simply ask for proof of ownership from the representatives of the car parking company. They cannot provide that proof because the title is not proof of ownership. It says so on your own V5 document. For a parking ticket fine, a company, a body corporate, which is a legal fiction, states that you parked a car on a postal address, which is in the United Kingdom. Are you beginning to see the problems with their claims against you? Can you see the possibility of how you might defeat this claim? A parking company, which is a legal fiction, claims it owns the land in the country United Kingdom and claims that you parked your car on a postal address and now you have to pay a fine. All of which is impossible. And that is why it is only an allegation. I beat lies with truth. I asked the parking company agents to provide proof of ownership of the land. They all send you a letter saying we're acting on behalf of the land agent, pay us 60 quid. And I say, yeah, no problem, just to make sure this isn't a scam, send this evidence to the landowner and I'll pay the fine. And it's impossible. It only exists in your mind. Send proof of, so when you park, this guy here will find out pretty soon, they're going to send him a letter saying, you parked, and they'll give a postal address in the United Kingdom, Because you can't park on a postal address, because remember, we're dealing in the world of the imaginary. So they're sending a thing saying, give us 60 quid and we'll let you off, whatever it is. And all he has to do is write to them and say, yeah, I accept your claim, just one thing, just before I pay out, just to make sure I'm not being scammed. If you can send me proof that you do in fact act for the owner and he does in fact own the land, now that's due diligence, yeah? I'll pay up by return. End of story. The state and the legal profession knows that nobody can own or sell the land, which is why they only sell you a title. Because God owns the land and they know it. This is what the Bible says. The land shall not be bought or sold forever. The land is mine. Leviticus 25:23. They said this book is the infallible truth. That's why they don't sell land. They sell you a title and you believe you own the land. Now they got you breaking this law. That's why they beat you up for it. Can we win the battle? Fighting back. Thomas wrote on one of Jesus' teachings saying, you will understand everything when you know yourself. If you believe you're a resident in the United Kingdom, you clearly don't know yourself. At the start, I asked you two questions. Are you in the best position, legally speaking, to be able to do battle and win? Have you been hamstrung by your opponents before the battle's even begun? Sun Tzu. I think you know the answers to those questions. You now have a choice to make, because we all now understand that you cannot and will not win any legal battle. Excuse me a minute, let me just get this up. You cannot and will not win any legal battle from the position of a council tax-paying resident. That is illogical. A commoner belongs to the state. The choice is yours. So, the Attorney General, to attorn means, the word attorn means to turn away from one lord and go and serve another. That's what the word attorn means. That's why there's a general in charge of all of the attorneys. It's called the Attorney General. So, again, that diagram just evidences the main officers of state that you will deal with throughout your life and your loved ones. You're going to come in. Everyone comes into conflict with council at some point for something, bins, planning, whatever it is. Maybe even the police, and they all operate in these two jurisdictions. If you come before a judge, there's maxims of law that says judge is judge for God. And there's another one that says it's punishment enough for a judge to know that he's judged by God. That's another reason they don't want me in their courtroom. Because if I was a judge, I'd be not happy with the council sending one of God's into my courtroom, risking my soul over this nonsense. They don't want it. The judges will not want it. We all have a choice of which father we wish to serve. None of us are forced. We are governed by consent. Today we have evidenced the paradigm of government in both jurisdictions, legal and lawful. We have seen it, we can prove it, and it is evidenced right throughout the state, from the king to the council. Hopefully now we all have a better idea of why the law treats us in the way that it does, and our position within the paradigm. Beware of false prophets. There are many out there who either ignorantly or deliberately encourage you to petition or protest. Ask yourself why. There are high-profile truthers types on social media rallying the citizens to get out on the streets and sign petitions. Ask yourself why. Is it because they're ignorant of the system, or do they have an agenda? I talk about freedom. Freedom doesn't come in half measures. Freedom is all or nothing, in or out. What I discuss at my website and have explained here can enable you to become free of a case you previously may not have seen. With the knowledge of the two systems of government, you can access the highest position at law, that being one of the people under God. You cannot access the highest position at law if you are involved in the sewer of politics or the legal system as a resident and citizen of the state. Petitions and protesting will keep you entrapped in the secular legal system, because only a subject of the king, United Kingdom resident, can legally sign a petition. To be able to sign a petition, you have to, legally I'm talking about, you have to be on the electoral register. So again, you're hamstrung before you even go into battle. A protest, the word protest means avowal. And to avow means to support and approve. Just think of all these people out in London supporting and approving the inheritance tax for farmers. That's what the word protest means. Huh? The word suffer means, Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me. So suffer, some of these words have two meanings. But they've got two meanings. I'll go further to say they've got two meanings because if I'm one of the people, a judge will decide if one of the citizens has attacked me, that I may well have suffered an attack and rule against their citizen. If I'm one of the residents and the judge may and suffered an attack, a judge may rule the other way because it's got two meanings. Now I don't need to protest. I gain my freedom from the comfort of my lounge with a pen and paper. I dealt with Mendit in paperwork because that's all they deal with, paper, titles. Don't get me wrong, they come to my farm and put me in. Yeah, well I've linked it all here on the website, so you can follow I always come with the evidence. So, protesting and petitioning are legal traps. That's just the fact of the matter. They are designed to keep you hamstrung and in serfdom, as we have seen and evidence here today. So, getting near the end now, you'll be glad to know. Satan's twin lies. This is a quote from C.S. Lewis. Satan always sends error into the world in pairs that are opposites. His great hope is that you will get so upset about one of his errors that you'll react into the opposite one, and he's got you. C.S. Lewis. And two of the errors that I put together are voting and petitioning, both ends of the scale, both errors. The left and right wing. All are designed to leave you hamstrung. Roseanne, thank you for inviting me to speak here at Glastonbury on home turf. And thank you all for listening, and I hope you found that interesting.
Thank you very much, Clive.
Okay, here we go. Clive Edwards is revealing the lies that could lead to our demise. He's revealing facts that most don't know and telling the liars where they can go. Clive says he doesn't deal in woo-woo, but he's certainly uncovering a lot of poo-poo. He's lifting the lid into the sewers that stink by teaching people how to critically think. Next page. He's explaining the meaning of words that define us and how those words can be used to confine us. How residents and citizens are owned by the state, but children of God are free to create. They don't live under government flaws. They choose instead to honour God's laws. So learn the truth and learn legalese, and then you could live a life of ease. Clive shared tips and way we can all beat the system. So replay his videos just in case you all missed them. And before I say thank you, I was thinking earlier about farmers, and it reminds me of the old nursery rhyme, Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Well, I've got a version coming up. Old Bill Gates had bought a farm for A-I-A-O. I'll leave the rest to you, thank you. One last thing, we've got Remembrance Sunday coming up, and I've already put something to the council about we need to be having doves of peace everywhere as a show of unity for peace, because war is a business, it makes a profit. There's something in this week's Local Observer, if you want to find out more, just ask me afterwards, but hang up some doves of peace and let's get peace on the agenda.